yi se nyame nhyira na wama yen na otwe foforo se yemesua ne ho ade yeda sister Kuya wonwuma otoma yen no tre no tie no na hoto bia ni ho so betri Yesu no kre especially ebra ye wo mu eniema aye bibi basayi Yesu munkuto ni ebenya hoto yeda ase wona bompa ye ne wona kenka address nyame nhya ye nyina ene ye toa yadesua no eso yenim se kota nyina na se afi mo no ni animo no ye the book of the desire of ages ye mame white Yesu adi hunu nyame de ma no a wode atwere Yesu abakosem ene Yesu abrabo imunsem ye ti ase yi na ne de yadru so no chapter 12 or say the temptation na ene chapter no based on Matthew chapter 4 verse 1 to 11 so he Matthew 18:9 ehona Yesu ensohe and Mark 1 verse 12 to 13 and Luke chapter 4 verse 1 to 13 ti so wo fa tresem na se ene adesua Yesu nyina na se wo kenkan a eho ina ewo nyina yenim se mame white eka se enwoma wo tro ene de wo tro ene nyina no ye kanea keto a kire kanea kese ene mu nti the spirit of prophecy is never higher, bigger or greater than the Bible. The Bible no ina pense mu ti baby obi an yensi yetrase ye be ye adesua no kakra na fe ye de asembisa ene nyema kakra to aso na fe ye de abawie na kompacho emo mpaye amia wo yemiye no adoye do so wasem kire yen se baby abenu anaba sabehia na wo wontemti yenim se sabra ye hia wo din mu wo yentem ye hwie ya distrede ne empire bogu anim ye de anyom to ya ye yi ama udin adru bra yes o se kasa kire yen na kopim se be free hebe akoda no yente wabra bwase yi tie da wase enwumre ifa yakoma na fa ya adwene na de ebesua no mo ya setena mu Yesu din amen
Amen.
Yo nti yedin chia kese efiri East London every nyina na se de no ya na mbese ye test ye mic na ma ye hu se ye microphone ye adwuma nti ye de enkomo kakra de animu ye ka se temptation enne twi ne ya na de ifiri se twi ne nyina ka no trial ka no nsohwe na nsohwe no ye won sohwe ye temptation Ini ye won sohwe a ye trial ana testing se wako school na akoye nsohwe ana se ye trial so obetimi aye bibi ne ye de wafa bibi mu ana se nsohwe se ye na ada kakra minka ne sa ni nyina ya na ye ka no nsohwe ni mienu no ensonsono ya ewo mu eye sen se ye ka no ewo tresem famu a se tresem ka se trial na testing naso waka temptation ensonsono ye ene de ebobra ben ene yehu wo sa eniema mienu mama ye nkyere ya adwene na ye mfensha se mfiri ho firi se very important se yesua Yesu de okomu no ye bette sa de we se yase. What is the difference between trial and temptation? Obi betimi aboaye.
Say ya can be a trial temptation. I say onyankopon onso ni panhwe nti papa bia ni. Nti ni nyina afiri obonsam. Na ade a meti ase fa me say ya kasa age say obonsam be so twetwe ya dwene firi onyame ade papa no so na wode kɔ ono na de bone ne so. Nti ofakwan bia so be convince yen say ne de ne ye na yen koye dan se be ye onyame de.
And no try
na yen sorry amaye.
And only a trial not temptation no.
Temptation. Temptation.
Temptation. Okay. Edaboachi adwene no enche mu no eno no. Obi de bi beka ho. Edaboachi say temptation de na bibi papa bi anim. Na try and de na bibi papa wom.
Try and de bibi papa wom. If you say so you find difference and then so when you pa try na bibi aye try what say ube to me aye bibi ana titira bi ade papa bi wo ho a yetimi de try wo hwe se beboa wo na watimi aye den na aye hye na aye nam na watimi aye bibi a hienti na emfanse bi a so hwe no say no ani nyina na emfanse try say ade ya wasua no u prove am ehun say watumi aye ana ntia no de na fan say papa wo mu na temptation ni de and de obonsam ko ana ye.
Okay. And they say try and your papa temptation in your papa.
Try can be something, it can be say Missy Papa woman. Into a better as a bonnet a woman. So I'll try him.
All right.
I want to me about and then so he'll be good. So I know your friend try. I'm you could to say Job in your mantis. Now so when you coupons to bet me a wow and so the baby bassa before so now Ubenya who dimbi into another yana Papa womb boni womb.
Eda elder say obi de bi beka ho amaye.
Job example of try no Job de na esi no. The Job no a friend say onyankopon him say we will beat me or job won't so nhwe e ma bi a temptation there say odi bibi esi wani so say na be ya a fan say we be pile ugidie emu be pa ugidie ban ma dun
Okay, nti na woni edaboachi de no aye person temptation in your papa but try ne de etimi ema ye hunu so your papa.
Okay, both of them are dangerous because try no a bit more power ugidie.
Okay, try to bet you more power ugidie.
Yes.
Okay. But you for must ebe ma dwem ni say. We should job no to hwe ba no sia na yelo kaka cha ni say. On ka bibi nche na Nyankopon na no. Na so eno so temptation and so you try.
According to the you define it, not just a trial.
Okay.
And non the temptation.
Okay.
According to the idea, I define what Hassan say in the
Abi say young fan say mama on can the whole Job amani hunu no. Or can a yere no. So can a yere ne dia ne dia and na ye temptation.
Yes.
Ne yere no person attempt no ma o yi na adwene free ni nyame a o wono so ekọ ka bibi tia Onyankopon. But Job no mani nyina ade en fa say try a free obonsam. Nti na nya papa but no Onyame a onim ne ba no nim say obetumi agina. Try bia Onyame say onfa try bi ma yeso aburu yeso a oni pantumi en uncover. Try bia onso ma ho kwan me bibi basa na amaya fa jamu ni anane ni aye kama.
Yes.
Oba no de na temptation or tempting you.
Yes.
Yada boafo ni na say I believe say obi amfa bibia enka ho nti betimi ato aso except so obi wo ben and one bi o person de ka ho anya say ato aso.
Na elder ka say nyame ma trial bi ba say de eye ebe boa na fiase ije de eye bonsam na ende ba na nyame makwai ana say nyame no na we try person try here.
That's right. That's a very good question. Say nyame na dey try our neighbor. You say you say you jam so hwe ne kan so kan so hwe na you confusing. Nyame na dey you know or dey try our neighbor and so hwe try our no eba na ana say o na ma ho kwan e ma neighbor nyo na dey ba na mo ma ho kwan ma neighbor.
O ma ho kwan ma na eba also.
Yes, it's true.
Good. A very, very good question. Now you can see, say, yeah, can ya no twe adwene si niema bi so kakra. and straight away bet me akọ tresem na fe wabusa se ene se na tresem isi presenting no mo di kaka se nyina ya damase ene ye the free for question no so nyame hia enti ye hwese de tresem no isi eka no na fe yabusa ye ho se Yesu de no na a trial anase na ye temptation free say one of the big debate wo ho a emma binum kra no sem a mokeka fa ho no emma mu gidie ewo nyame mu ne Yesu mu no ekofom nti na mepese ye hyase free ho no enti ye hwese de tresem no esifa deal with this issue trial and temptation one will say enwoma the book of James, very small book, but I think it's one of the books that dealing with trial and temptation a chemu ma yeti ase ye pa na da dan e kasa no okam okotu baby. Now okay, James chapter 1 verse 2 to 2 and 3 or say count it all joy my brothers when you meet trials se moko sound so here trial ni mu of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. Munim se mujidie wo so ahwe no emma mamenka no twi ni ye na enchiremo no aboayen so be first and so betimi aka wa me but James Yakubu
say minuano the mohwe sohwe ahodo bebre mu a mumu no anigye kora na muhunu se mugidie no sohwe ayobo aseto eho adwuma.
That's right, that's the word that me pebo aseto na gidie emu bo aseto no steadfastness no obi a utintim boaseto no shedan chire steadfastness no mu yie pa because boaseto is more of humility as a wo to boase ewo ahobrase ene ayimu but steadfast na say wunhihim uno wugina wo naso enti or person chire say trials once when you see temptation wa ha say trials eba wo so a de obetumi aye nyina na wo mu se enam se test wugidie so ogidie ahwene nti no de wo dia wo ye nyina na ye so obetumi agina wunhihim eno na twi no kan bo aseto no but oko temptation so a de o kan ye se o kan 14 na that kan 14 ma yen biem
114
patron yeah
114 was so obi ahwa na eye wono akono a ejeje na eda no na eso no hwe
good enti aha se de wo kire temptation ni mu se wo so obi ahwa a san so hwe temptation no na eye ono akono ene na ada a ekire se owo so tumi enti sade ye kan no trial eye de efri abonten ena eba abeso ogidi ahwese ogidi na wo so wo no wo ye no kwafo a obetimi agina. Martin Luther King said, where the battle rages, that is where the loyalty of the soldier is tested. Baby, also your soldier ni your soldier ni nya de wa soldier ni okura tu ahye camouflage etini fie na your soldier ni no. Nemo obi otimi kwa akono ekoko eje medal eba no on na your soldier ni because it is the battlefront in your testing no emi hu so your soldier ni. But temptation there who was to control say you have to make a choice and make a decision. It is the difference by kwa no. What kind of verse 13 now before so the kind 14 or can one same be say so be sure manon kase nyankopon na oso mehwe if we say bone bi enso nyankopon nhwe na ono nso enso biara nhwe. God does not tempt nyankopon enso ye nhwe because nyame enada yen se yenko boni mu. Enti die befri nyame ho babia no ye se ugidie no na eso mu ahwe se gidie no mu ehia. I think say we follow ni say ya emane very clear the difference between temptation and a trial. But I think say yen enumere ni die hia yen pa ne your response as in your temptation any in your trial. E was a yefa response ben ye wo. Na eno na yede kwakohwe Yesu ensa na ho a wode ma yen ni aka Isaiah of AD chapter 12. Ni etimi aputu de Yesu ye ni nyina no as an example for us. Into her responses are your two types of responses. Response, minim say the manufacturer response as you tree, but me just say it Nana Anuye, that's right. James Nana Maya response and Anuye say you could try a month to say, blessed is the man who remains steadfast. So can't you know see Shirani Nipa or Tone Boase ewo sohemu. I don't really like the idea of entoboase because I am more of let me sit here and sound more of humility, which is good, but steadfast age na homa say them di kan no obi a won shake on so. That's right, that's right, that's the word obejina pintin. And so we call efficiency any a year won say oka say enuanomitumfo say munhinhim munyina pintin wo nyame adwuma wo say be unmovable, unshaken. That is how you define steadfast, no? Ewo ho. Enti say trials ba and now say testing your faith into your response must be say we shouldn't be moving. We should try to stand on our feet. For when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love him. If we say would jina pintia ubenya enkwa abutre. That is the response to trials. Into your response in your trials. And na yebesu ehunu how are Yesu define trials to no a bra will go through no one so a situation, you know. Na fei, but temptation there. Anytime a temptation, baby, and we are very, very clear with what to do. One can say, "I hope into you." What's it to me? Johnny, flee. Temptation about what? Flee. Now, say ne want to be na sa wofa we say 2-3 more. Me ji say jame be shira wo ye. Temptation ebeba wo life mu every blessed day. A good Christian eyobia all call up and down, all call day and night, all call abontin ebe inside no. Obo modern say obehunu where to flee temptation and where to stand steadfast in with trials. Enti or say yen epe any the call temptation until you flee. You can 2 Timothy you flee from your youthful passion. When niji dear walk on a brandy and niji dear walk bremo no we ya will say you are niji dear no a temptation a true flee flee from sexual immorality a massem ne memasem any a dramamo jane efree home flee from idolatry bibia ma wo ani ginyame ho e chen nyame no wan ka say gina ho na yen test o hwe say you strong or see dwane yifree ho eradicate. That's another way of looking at it. Into your fire nyom what the friend we have in Jesus you uncle be not say yesu na so to I say second stanza no or say have we trials and temptations you wo so hwe any wo how that drain how ebuye so agenkwa no ne yegu ankobia enti that is the prescription Mr. Joseph Scriven Edemaya, and I love this text. I love that second stanza no or say fako nyameho ewon bible. That is how you flee the trials no won't me no wusri nyame boame the temptation wudwane a no asri nyame so mo ahode abetim de atum rika no more me was second me what a value view na so for back madam for pa no very no wanyini with this of one or bar a school na no be sua de na mentane ni din komo na there's one thing I me rem fi e wa futu o de ma me nyini no da bia woni na kasa o say the life mu nyina no one rule wanyini wasua e say never play on the devil's highway. Say bonsam ne kwan na yete say highway a enkugina mu nya ho ayesem say me de me nyamesum ne me de me hye until I can walk in the devil highway and go my way. No. Obenyaw. And nuntina. So wo hwe a ya sofo ne yi ni nyina da bia empire wo se ebo ne say nyame emma yen na de temptation ne de yenwane mfiri ho. Ya sori mpanimfo ye women ministry ye deacon ye we play different roles I was sorry no. We should never say ya tena safuni mu ache into ye strong. No. Never play on the devil's highway. Nyame se ye ba and discuss kra flee dwane because ebechew wo emre ebechew bi say ya temdidie say ya dwama mo say ye den sika say ye den it will catch you into run away. And I believe say we can safely conclude say based on yema me no wakan no if we na ekro Bracknell church trials ne temptation the obie musa ho question be free say ye be ma nyina certificates anwumre yete ase anameboa
Amen.
e be me certificates na certificate no ye fan kire say ye betimi akire mu mienu hwe trials eye enso hwe free nyame ho a e kire e test ye gidie no the source eye nyame if rabonten na eba ye ho temptation said they had done a kind of temptation free bonsam and it comes from yen in yemu. The nature of trials no eba bebre but trials be about at a short time neko a test still ebia sometimes be wunni sika kra no bi sika ba ho se mini ana mini a trial busa about loyalty to God. Say, will you be loyal? Was it tight? Fabreme, will you be loyal? A short moment, circumstance be naba. It requires so be honest to the nyamiaka. But temptation there, mainly nyama miensa, pride of life, honama kono niwa kono eni sitinemu aho that's right. Nyama miensa, honamu wo physical nigidie wo mu niema properties adwapade na fame asitema hohoahoa. These are the three things bonsam edit testing they tempt yen away from God. And the purpose nyane is about destroy your faith. Temptation into the process ne say steadfastness, and I'm person you focus on the word steadfastness, not patience and not humility. Said the tree Bible ne can know, but so bejina immovable, unshakable. Now if you be complete, that is what trials make you. But temptation there, and of course, the last one, say. So will be our temptation, muna so lose follow to temptation. Now, cause of him a temptation as of follower. The first thing you so blame will be there's always a blame game. But trials there, the first attitude near say a radimate that was so I must also we say about me. So meaning say, what did test me muse so a ampasa me jiwudi me dance. That is the approach towards trials. And based on this, say your core desire of faith is chapter 12 more. My first question, say, book or not title near the temptation. Mujidi say the a temptation and answer a trial. Quick question. Bracknell for more.
Oh, cardia wo book no ana test mu ana
Okay, Matthew chapter 4, verse 1 to 11. Yes, so here one Matthew no. Of course, then so no.
A temptation.
Okay.
So say a church say Bibi ada wa twe wadwena si bibi so no. Ya na ye temptation. Enye trial. Nti wasi didi ye pa no ima na nya yi na didi. Na ka kire nyame se ni sei. Saa na da bi obonsam ye adwene mu. Nti me gidi se me ne aja afri fire adwene.
Okay. Enyame no obi gidi say trial na. Obi so gidi say trial na say mama mpanefo mi no akova mu nyina nti obi ankasa bi.
Me pacho se bonsam koso ne hwe. Nti no me fi say temptation.
Okay. Na se Yesu nso nyame ma kwan yo.
Se nyame ma kwan nti no nyame ma kwan na bonsam koso ne hwe. Nti no me fi say temptation.
Okay. All right. Nti men ka say yes or no, but ye come akosi ase no. That is one question ebebusa at the end. But ya damasi nipa mi ensa say 30 obia any trial session hono. Nti ebefa ya damasi. Right. So what kind of Mark chapter 1 verse 2, 12 and 13 the mama kana kokona. Say in a chassis am I in background no. Or say what? Sorry. Yeah, or say immediately at once. Some of the translation in the canon at once. The be said there and then. Whom homono ede no call desert.
Espresso.
Thank you. But no call espresso. Na wo ho enna aduanan abonsam eso no ehweye na wone emwa. He was there with the wild beast. Indeed, this was a place na ehu emwa omo very wild in our ho. Menkwala abremu no because the children's Sabbath school na yetaka say na bonsam de Yesu ko sre ne so. But I think say very clear in the Bible say nya bonsam na de Yesu ko sre ne so. But nyame honhom na direct no. Now we need to understand the context. So the be me yetimi asesa text we say asie ye. Yeah, who said last week and as a last lesson ye ansa na be we say no say mo be kai a na ye dan ampam chew.
Dear girl.
Previous lesson ye ansa na be ye we nya me onya de mo de me ye but de mo ye chapter 11 no. Mo kai. Okay, na baptism.
That's Asamoah.
Yeah, Asamoah na mo ye na baptism. Now one will say what kind baptism hona ubetimi summarize nyina into say Jesus was warming up for his mission on earth. Na Yesu prepare kakra but no adru baby a also go to what we call rite of passage. Baptism say what faith will move from one stage of life to another stage of life, a new stage of life. I feel no best starting ministry na ye juma na nkasa ye. And baptism was the boundary, the mark, also the year. And son wako. Now yenim say, what kind chapter you was here? The spirit of prophecy making a very clear say during the baptism, one of the witnesses was Satan. No yabonsam. Satan was among the witnesses. Now owohono de Satan hu ye. Uhu se osoro abie. Na nyankopon no ankasa kasa free soro testify of the divinity Yesu konkron awoye. Na fe wode no go through spiritual preparation. Na fe won di ne ho adanse ye se ampa we ene me doba osomani enti muntie no. Ni mu I'm well pleased. Mani ku ne ho me doba the apple of my eye. Mani ku ne ho pa. Enti listen to him. Yehunu say honhom konkron ne be share Yesu ma enti Jesus was full of the Spirit. This is the context. Enti at this point, Ubebusa ho say, why did the spirit na be share Yesu mu no e de ne course so? And that is why so we start to say we kind chapter now we chire mu say or the ne course so to do certain things. One of them was to fast. One of them was to build a strong relationship with God. One of them was to be alone and reflect on the big job Nyankopon de ahye ne nsa so magi wiase boni nyina enso a. It was a moment of reflection, and the spirit had to come into him, said the beye betimi ama na tumi agina ebetimi ama na dwene sa ne ma we se nyina ho. That was the reason. Another showing in anime summarizing into 3 key parts. The first one is the circumstances. The second part is the nature of the temptation. And the last part is lessons. And we are going to do all this in just 20 minutes. Now, there can your questions very quickly. Into the circumstances, you background you can conclude safely. Say, enye Yesu in the invited temptation and ban hoso. And this is what the spirit of prophecy says. Jesus was led by the Spirit of God. He went to the wilderness to be alone, to contemplate his mission and work. By fasting and prayer, he was to brace himself for the blood-stained path he must travel. But Satan knew that the Savior had gone into the wilderness, and he thought this is the best time to approach him. Yesu ko hoso okoye kom okodwene ne botaye si na nesuo na dwuma obeye niema mfie de na nimu ne niema ni nyina no ode akom kire ne mpaebo ina okosre ne so na Satan ehunu say this is the best time I was minya Yesu no. And what did he do? I don't think say Bonsam could deny the name straight away. Well, Bonsam the first time, the first part now, was started a connection, but no more connection no. Not physically, we drained. No, that was the time of Koi. But this is the key lesson for me. I don't think Bonsam could deny the name man who said Bonsamuni. Instead, Bonsam came to him just like he would do to you and me when we are going through temptation and trials, through whispers or kagunasum. Until you can imagine, say, yes, you din na bogu nanim, na dwunemu, whispering, koso, ekomodo, ebuo na wohoi, we are powerful. Why don't you turn this abo into bread? Na wudi na honto. He came, he disguised himself. And now say, a thought planted in the brain, na dwunemu, the temptation to eat, didi, break the fast. Pebibi di wo bre o tete. Na fei, the temptation of lust, the feeling of feeling good about yourself. And Satan will choose the best possible time to exert the full measure of temptation on us. That is one thing we must understand. Temptation, but anytime it will come at the time where we are least able. Miss Kai, I can can't same way say I dream back me person a ba me team and person me nyina eche say unim situation ben na Yesu he was alone. Maybe for a lot of us nyina we must be very, very careful what we do when we are alone. We must be very cautious about a niema yitimi ekotena baby see with the good intention. Ninyina no can be an avenue for Bonsam. And Yinyina no must learn that lesson. That is the first circumstance that was here. The second one, say, Satan always employ a strategy. You see, Satan didn't come say, what my back into straight away. No, what kind of can cancel? No, see, Satan saw that he must either conquer or be conquered. And the Christ was made the mark of every weapon of hell. Satan eba say a do or die. Enti enyesa temptation or the nkitinkiti be the full measure, the very Rebecca and a silver bullet temptation. The one on him say, this is the last one as a metua asa, because if I lose this, I've lost. And so for a whole about 3 paragraphs of the chapter, no, the spirit of inspiration kept reminding readers to say, Meneo say, Kaihuno say, the big problem na facing humanity in say, Yesu too could have lost that temptation because he was in human power. To say, and if he had lost, from Genesis, the whole plan of salvation, the whole revelation, all those plans would have come down and been gone if Jesus had lost the temptation. And Satan didn't go there, say, a trivial fight. And I think, say, going through this, I also came to maybe understand, so maybe one object lesson, a bit me free on here, say, these daily temptations are Yishiano. It is also a matter of life and death for Satan and for us. Opesu winning and completely. Opesu lose completely. Enti Yesu emayen. Another important message here. The next thing I was Yesu is enti the strategy no. First one he said the ultimate goal was total destruction. The ultimate goal no. The third strategy Satan the approach, the method. And this is where Satan is strong. The method. When we say Yekasa bonsam dada for dada say it looks like, but it's not. Bonibeka say it is similar, but not the same. Yekasa bibi is similar a bang, but anya the crow. And nada say uhu die uhu no say the crow, but a set anya the crow. Yes, a strategy and as approach bonsam so or say the first words our kayan, if thou be the Son of God, so we nyankopon ebanoa. To boss na dwene ho de enti o ka sa. Unim say here, I like the way Desire of Ages can also here, he is insinuating distrust. Insinuation actually say woka ama na koye te say on kind direct. Nemu what the free baby ama wadwena akoba so say na you heard the way our year no. The same method what they call aiding no. The same method no we apply what I say. We say call how hono Eve hono say na we say nyame catch you say me ni aduane no. He says the truth, but he say it as a similar kind of truth, but not the same as what Jesus said, or twisting or daneno. And most of the temptations I become no any big temptations I nim say bone. You move be nim say Bible aka murder bone ye nie stealing bone ye mokro no ye nya yi. Nemum di nim say papa no just a little twist. Now Maya started doubt what the truth is. Into here I have say or kind be because there was a covert negative. Desire of Ages now, a doubt of the divine truthfulness. Satan sought to instill into the minds of Eve the thought that God will not do as he has said, and that withholding such beautiful fruit was a contradiction of his love and comparison for men. And he said, or twisty Eve and no say, na unyame power do na ekase on nyesho so besa because one can choose me near. I don't think say nyame be kasa, not twisting gradually. Also by Yesu ho no catch you say, wo so we nyame ba. Now we show say nyankopon ba pa, would God treat his own son like say the will treat you we. Share what to have a common deal. Oh bread. Why would God do that? sure say we nyame bapa nyame na kasa no kra no we sure say ensem o kan no kra say so your door be man the back go through this. And the more you think about it, all the time I mean go through ministerial training, there is one question that keeps coming about suffering or how. And the reason why a lot of people, especially our young people, so be a question of say nyame your door say or your door. Why? I didn't know how or mouth to rent how? And the more any person we say it leads to doubt in God. And that is why a lot of people have come to the logical conclusion and said there is no God. Because if there is a God, that God cannot be a God or so what or how he the same questions. If thou be the Son of God, the method, you see, or the strategy in the core and the strategy and approach in here say, let me go back to the basics, the old time question and process. Let me doubt. If I can leave doubt in your mind, say there is no God, I finish. In the same, Inti Okachi say, show your power. So what to mean? Show it. You should turn the bread stones into bread. Ube to me aye. What you there because in your your door and go my own tinakum say, my own go through this physical agony. Now if you was saying tremfoni crutch and the ever two, we know you number two. Well, Auntie, that is something I was here doing home. Three things. One, the circumstances, no. Say, do we invite problems? Do we invite temptations? A Christopher sometimes here and here, he invited temptation because your dream said, you're transferring much a year ding, your bomb pie, your casa, your sum ye. No, Jesus didn't invite temptation. We shouldn't invite temptation. We must understand, say, Satan always comes with a plan. Satan, on your afterthought, on your answer, or miles ahead, so he's well ahead of you. The ultimate goal is distraction. The approach is cunning and deception. Gradually, or the namasian kakran. The sense that they won't know punch na no kuma punch na no. Would need to ensure more. Ensure she or two more baby, but ensure adjono. Now the soldier wanna see yet with the dead, and never ban who's not a shina kuno read that. That is how Satan works, insinuating of the strat, not leading to doubt them to complete rejection of God. Well, young temptations nankasa so we know it. Intimate, namin person be focused also be meaning say temptation and nema miensa. But what do we make out of it? Or say the enticement which Christ resisted were those that we find it so difficult. And niema bonsam de ko nyame ho de dem no mienu ye struggle with. Nyame no mienu from the beginning, humanity has been struggling with that issue, that problem. The first was food. The first one was food. The was issue of the mind. The was issue of presumption or worship. And so when me and sending as breaking it down to three things. One, a physical appeasement. Ade bema wo ho atɔ. Say ye duane, say ye hunya, say ye dwamamo, say bibia will be feeling your system and say, I feel good, I'm satisfied. That is where the first temptation is. The atosumi intellectual, suya, dwene, hunu, argue, analyze it, come to this conclusion, and then everything else throw away. Intellectual, mental, we can say psychological. And the third, presumption when it comes to yeni nyankopon, and that is worship. Into me in details, but what I've decided is say focus on the bia so kakra na fe yen fe addition mrewie. Into yen physical no. Well, why are we saying say physical? Na what do we say? Matthew chapter 1 verse chapter 4 verse 1 to 14. My highlight ebi wo ho. Now Bible no making it very clear say Jesus was in physical trouble. Physically no, because none come I didn't know. I think say mekase maybe na me mekase come to me deme na me nisu bre me say bia ya oda. E bia say come ni bi. Physical hunger pa. And that is what the Bible says. Enti okachire ne say dane aboyi ne didi na honto. But Jesus didn't do that. See, 4,000 years and the same issue okachire Eve was about food. The same thing, Eve and Adam, Cain and Abel. When it came to say, when it came to say Benjamin, it was food. The debaba for the year, and I had been then. And yet, during the time of Noah, Sodom, Gomorrah, all these places, and you cannot take the issue of physical food, appetite, and appeasement out of the equation. That is the same thing. Our day, yes. Now, yes, to answer what the Maya no, and then I take another object lesson every. Or say, Satan tempts us at the point of our physical needs, not that we might gratify them to excess, but that we might think of nothing else and gratify them at the expense of our usefulness in the world. Or say, bonsam eso yenhwe bra yaya mre e obibi ho. Inti remember say a kind of strategy no. Or check out so who say uti we. Yinim say uni ekoko. Inti all the time no baby a met test wa hwe no. Eye baby a ukoko no be sorry no akeke kensen bi no walk away we are no aka so say me dey me kuku because obi anim say me kuku one aka tro say nyankopon say modem aye no baby a wo me say me kuku na ye okay enti fa din sebe fa ye de ope can be na ko no or say even when you are saying the truth what kind of cry say it in love, sharing the truth in love. That is one of my favorite texts in the Bible. Somebody has got it completely wrong, I must still remember, say, I could be tempted to do otherwise. Inti Yesu echreyen, say, unim, the time wa obi betimi ato, obi tempted so be you who free gidie no hono. Ebi time I hear aduane, time I hear a dine, ebi a time I yare, time I feeling weak. It could be say be a time when sikasama basa here. Time at distress, we drink and no be aba. And then let me help you gradually. A lot of young people are more ended up, having very bad relationship. It's because the time of need, no be aba so and the person end up abusing them. And Jesus taught us one thing: we are tempted to distrust God, to question His love. But the solution, comes in. Minya brain kind but the highlight, no, let me skip this one. Here he talks about intemperance as part of it, but the highlight was saying, the solution that Jesus gave us, or say he exercised here for our sake. He exercised a self-control stronger than hunger or death. That was the only solution. Self-control. But me gidi pass the second thing of course, when the difference between try and temptation. When we say you don't play on the devil's highway thinking so we are strong, it will be to me stand it. But the Adeka one say when it came to appetite and food, Jesus gives us an example. Yesu Maya say he exercised self-control. Self-control. Baby elsewhere in the book here you can deserve ages or kind of say when say we are say Nobel Peace Prize, yes, you will be winning Nobel Prize for inventing something, will be a Nobel Prize. Problems be a years in terms of buy what me solve near Nobel Prize. Yebe Christo mua, the desire of ages can say the highest Nobel Prize are a Christian ebetumi enya when they exercise self-control. Into account, say the highest nobility of a Christian is self-control. Just think about it. And that is because when Ebra Yesu, the whole world, history and the whole world problem was at stake, the only tool I would timidly overcome here was self-control, which was stronger than even death. The second, so that is the first lesson we learn from Yesu, and then the first experience of temptation. The two ones, I mean, kind of very quickly. The second one, we can say the intellectual, which is the mind. One say, if you are the son of God, or say the devil took him to the holy city, the second one, or the Nuko holy city, and say, so we nyameba to whom, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you. To whom, no man above for average. One say, yes, you can say it is written, say, nyabo don't kuno nipa betimi enya trust na sem efiri nyame ho. Okotu ye na no nso kotu you say, oh yes, we should trust him. No, wait. I know even it's better than you. And Okotu trust him in a very wrong, what we call the wrong exegesis and interpretation. The same scripture, but wrong interpretation. Because the context was out of reach. There was someone who can. What lesson na wo mayen? Yemu bebre yesua sebe school free and kwala bremu, so we have become intellectual Adventists, as I call them. Yenimpa, we know it. And you obetimi achro say there be osum na wo say say because I near no. I will say yes, because this is how we should do it. In fact, as long as more sorry, because this is how we have always done it. We are only basing our religion on intellectual and mental capabilities. Say the yadrine. If you are say no, you're completely wrong because we need to start doing this. Hey, say na ya bonti, say me disi ha penifo, say me disi ha. That is the second temptation, the mental side of things. But Yesu echre yen say solution or the ma yen or say avoid the hunger to avoid the cross. But some strategy near says so man avoid the hunger na, then gradually avoid the cross. No, Satan tempts us at the point of our ambition. Not that we might engage in a positive evil, but simply accept the fact of evil. Learn to live with it. Now, honey, hear me. We have become a psychological Seventh-day Adventist and a Christian. Say, you knowing said we are living in sin. We are living with evil. Ambition psychology. It is not for us to get salvation, but to actually learn to live and accept sin, so we can argue our case around it. And Nyamechre said the second one, no, just allow the word of God to be interpreted well. The last one was worship. And this is where you start building the steps. Why did he start with food? Yes, food no were just a conduit. No, but the real purpose no comes here. The third temptation, say imaginative pride and morality. And the key thing about this is worship. And this is where Yesu can say, hey, now you have come to the real issue. The real issue near worship me, because you want me to bow and worship you. And all your temptations are you may think, say, you'll be na no. They are all counterfeit to the real temptation, which is whether you will worship God or you worship Satan. It's as simple as that. Whether you are obedient to God or you are not obedient to God, and therefore you're obedient to Satan. It is the third temptation, or say, if you will bow down and worship me, Jesus said, away from me, Satan, but it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only. It was step 1, step 2, step 3, if you were whining in him, and Jesus told him, say, get off, get away. I wish to say, nipa dada abrabum, say ye busu yafo, say ye jumemu, say ye ya wari mu say ye bibia mu no ye betimi ahunu say all this temptation has one ultimate objective, whether we will worship God. And a brain intimate can we, but I'm just going to leave it here. Why will Satan tempt you and me today? Well, that's the final object lesson. When Satan tempts you and me, he's tempting us so we can end up worshiping him. And it's the same approach Oyusu were aiding, the same approach he used with Jesus, and the same approach he's using with me and you today. No mayen, eninaho. Not temptations away abroad, especially when we feel weak. Yehusi ya yemre ewo nieme bi hu nyame ma yen that steadfastness. Ahode betumi de agina. En yen kai yenua na nwum no. Yen ko nyame ho mpaebom. Na yemfa de nyame ade a kire no yemfa nya adwuma. Yentimi ni otamfo no so. Nyame nhyira yen ewo ne din mu da. Amen.
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 De me nyini se ebre no say betimi abusa question ebre na so, but
Penyimfo achabama yema few minutes na yemfa musa question. Bacho kwanda ho so bi wo question bi o pesu bi sa. Kwanda ho no.
eti metimi abusa bia na
But
my question is say, as Ghanaian Seventh-day Adventists living in Europe or UK in the 21st century, what are our biggest temptation? And your trials. Yes, so as a quarry yet to quire your UK ha and Europe. You did pass your biggest temptation. Hey, dear.
Pastor,
Yes,
Ejuma.
Bet me a chip kakrama.
Ejuma on say dear me who ne say Ejuma ne say ye pesua ye me kano hum fam nanso yehwe enema bi a ewo ye nchen a na ye bu ye ni aguso nti eye me kan se eno ne frɛ ne bo apaye no so hono temptation no ye betimi agyae but ye nyai ye ne bo apaye nti adwuma no abaye ye temptation say obo okra na akwanya wo ho so wo kwa adwuma wo betimi aka say memre fiada memma na mem say ni se wo betimi aka no kra no but wonka mimi hu ne say no so eka ho bi high empire.
Now, Ma Hannah, do you see the relationship between the Awokan and the last temptation, some ultimate goal? Ne say, Ebia ebe presenting who say Juma, but ultimately no, about worship. What's my question, Nasia?
Debbie.
My question is say what share some strategies or use you na also the coffee biane, the coffee drapade. But none lead to kwakosi or some, so that's right. It made me question say based on the awoken, see where you move a brave be argument ama ye kasa argument ye nya kwan nye de wo say any ade na. You did say temptation about a juma na nkasa na temptation about worship.
Me no ya adwen e betimi aye wosom if say you choose ne ye pe na yesom no.
Mama Hannah say on oji this adwuma or let's say 1 to 10 adwuma be di first e was 7 Pacho, Mamaka Hono, Obenso be number 1 every the free fire ever Mabako, Mama Hana, where you number 1 every and train. Mr. River, do I not have knock number 1 from a Jumano from number 1?
The Jumano. My fans, because not Sabbath, me say Juman 1, I'm into me. And keep Sabbath me. Indeed, Jumano, Methodist.
It is still wouldn't at the Jumana number 1. Okay.
Now, Sonia, be a bit my concern. A nibire. I sit him, and you are corner, I sit him who Sani mammy and so bodino, and on a chia. Am I there, Jumamu 24/7. Ama Yakobo a Jamaya a Yanua, Yakobo Cronoa a Yanua. Intino a Yanibre, any a corner a cambum at Twatuamu. Timothy Samin Canaba, community. Sani a mano, a corner near Nibre, Nadia Cosa or Untimate. Maybe say me ye a Jumani free ho. Namdi a corner a quan any brebe show.
That's right. The free funny Mama Hannah, in Pacho, you're not come more the every ho. At a boache say a corner, no crowd and the triplets. A corner ne, a nibre and ne a hoa. A cat a 1 John 2:5 na boom or de a sheho. Money in the yard drain, and as we go so different.
David, I come on, Meno Yadri.
That's right.
Anibre, yesu. Anibre, a nipesu. So, no, I cono a nipesu. But, sir, Minimpa say, Humeda, and I'm quite sorry. Humeda, men found Quadruma, and ye nibre, a ye was some mepe, a ye, dear beer, sana mi hono, uncle. Anibre, a ye is soup, obu wa. Nanim radi so hono eni brani de ana eye nipa ni suban yes nipa wo de wani brade edodo enso no bi kura na obetimi ahye no ho so adwuma a wo yemu ohono but ye wo aha abrochire ha asam de enwuma no edi nya papa ye de enwuma no asi ho kane
Sikeni bre
me de ya tro
na Mama Hana. Adi enti na oda adwuma mu yi ye na ohwehwe adi ana nani abre ne ho a enti oda adwuma mu saa okọ 24 2 times 3 times a day
sika
adi enti na wantumi anka se me ma meba me da me kwa asori enti baby an yes mo ma me 5 days di a mejai enti wo de ko akire kakra de oda adwuma mu biara bia sabe obi a ebinim tra ye adwuma ye no Emma ho kwam yetim sum nyame ye but yeah oda adwuma mu anani abre adwuma so de wo kan ni nyina no eye ani bre ne akonno ne asetema wo ho a so obeto ne dan
Any
obeto ne ka
say sikadi berie
sa
so si boni nyina hin
sa na
ni
tie
sika
enti obo ha wo ye 2 hours ahia no nanso so enha no e wo say ni bre ni pesu de ba enha no onfa no ntutu se ne obi atoka amono me se metobi obi atodan me se metobi the rent no abi a open saa ba wo de bia wo pe de obi aye ntire na oni pakro na konfa so wuntimi ntino ene e wa fa adwuma no se ni nyame de na nche me ye 24 times 7 ni nyina ni bre ma me
Okay, Dadan, yate unchechire mu no.
me de enkontompo
Eno ben noko eni bre ne adwuma ne nyina afiri number 1 ho.
yeah
Okay,
chechire mo abuchire ade a enkontompo ni atro ka ho kire se ye nyina ya adwene se krom ha de wantwa nkontompo a niema bi wo ho a bia wo nsantumi nka saa no bia ye nti ɛsɛ saa na meso meyɛ no wanyɛ ne saa wonya aban mmoa ɛna wanyɛ ne saa wadwuma koraa no wontumi nyɛ wonya adwuma ɛnyɛ nti tɔda nipa nyinaa atwa nkontompo sɛ bi ɛho bɛtɔyɛ no yɛn nso so yɛtwa saa nkontompo naa bi sɛ bibinom koraa omtiri yɛ no bi koraa ɔne ne kunu na tie otimi ka sɛ meyɛsɛn mɔda na ɔne bi a ɔne ne kunu na tie sɛ bɛyɛ a wobɛnya aban mmoa nti bɛne yɛn nyinaa so so ɛbɛba temu nti ayɛ bibi asɛ nkontompo no fɛ deɛ yɛma no ɛnyɛ yi biem sɛ saa na wanyɛ ne saa ɛnyɛ yi
ɛdi ɛdi ne yɛtwa nkontompo yi ɛnyɛ sika anibere ya
na de ana afɛ na wo no kom ya to hoi because wo nkontompo a wo twa no a wo de bedi ka no anibere no nti na wo twa nkontompo nti untimi fa no kom sa
wujira ho
pinti.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I think so yeah can't destroy near and so very serious when say another sua you know me this year nyina no e bedwene ho say bonsam will never come and stand in front of us so me gina yanim say the yakeke can say dwuma na say ani o say bonsam me gina nim ka say kwadwuma homeda ana say mu adwuma no emfro ayi o me kan tro say you know koye ni bre eyi but obeba with that whispers now be kan go asum na fe will change your expectations some kan maybe addition here about expectations you know 3 types of expectation idi kan imaginative gap one me hweb de be ampese me drupa I was say me ku me ho you know na fe a relational gap oni obi wo hwe ni paper ye nyina na sha brabo is na don't know nko de asa waduna me nko ene na afei intertemporal wo hwe ba bia anka ne pa na wo me pa na fe de mini obi a na me ye yi pa hwe dabi was all these things ni na keke ka bomu a na fe ama uru feel ho say entokwa is not about these things but entokwa is about the ultimate temptation aye worship so ube no kwafo amenyame ana say ube no kwafo ama Satan and then another sua na twen adwuna siso say edin but one day bia no ye de ho to nyame asem no so a say de Yesu my example na e be building I think say talking about nyame asem no e bia de sua ba ko e betimi afafiri ho so ye say say James or now can nyina no be say not hearers only but what
The
doers or can't temptation it tries no one say ni nyina wie na no de be ende or say na ni nyina comes to whether you are going to take that bold step say the mati me de be adwuma ana metie no kwa mama Lucy ka ye nyina ye hwe ye brɛ mu a ye oniema ba ko wo ho a ye nie no kore wo ho banyame bo na sɛ wo kokoduru ba bi a wo hwɛ wo betimi agya sɛ yina ya do you take the bold step say no medi atro ya chenti afidi let me be clean let me stand na me nye no kwafo ana sɛ bi a anka no ba ye na humeda adwuma sem ne ade aye yi a sɛ nyame aboa wa hwɛ wo so wa ntwa wa ankro mo abeduru ba bi a you can even take more decisions to say spend more time with God. But after the ayo da ma wona wo frɛ sɛ na muni a double shift bi a whole weekend in menya double pay. Nti wenum nyina ye temptations a bonsam de ma yen ba me gise na de so atwe adwene so say we have a decision to take. Nyame mo ayen sɛ nyina no e be ma the worship osuma de nyame no e be remain high. E wo ya bra bom. Me de ma de so am fa free mo no.
Nanka mo question. Epacho
Mama Lucy, kasa den kakra ma pa chaw.
Na Yesu de no na ye trials and as a temptation fi say bonsam na megina nanim. Adwene mu na kasa kyerɛ sɛ ye ne a sɛ de eti sɛ ye no ma bi o a bi a okoye bɔne bi ana sɛ be obi kɔbɔ adwama bibi kasa kyerɛ no bet na wantumi anhyɛ no so sɛ de na wo kasa wo ye nwane no wantumi anwane na eno no trial And I say temptation. Say
Temptation.
one to me and Yania. When Yaneno. A yawa kono ne do wako wura saa de ni.
Anything that temptation.
Mr. Free Fache muka kramant Mama Lucy. Na wo kasa
Say who say yes no. Which who my yet say temptation no. My Bible you know say ade a yenya ya kono ena ede ye eko. Enuti we sika da ho. Adwene da ba say fa. Now what so what we akon any ma yi me na nkura me se beta here say koto bi dia kono any bere any adidi no akwa fa. Ade ne nye odie nti temptation awa no akwa akwa. Wom say bonsam no kasa ene no kasa se kokofa. Nti temptation enye trial abeto se bia what all of a sudden na ye bia wo how bi anasa ayi bia ba ato wo se utimi egina we de sohwa koso wo wa adwini mu na wa fo wantimi anyina saa sohwa no abi na koso Yesu adwini mu wo gina ayem the temptation.
Thank you, Eda Frifa. Obi di bibi ka ho ana. Ana Mama Lucy ntase abakakra.
Fajai.
Unim kakra me de ka ho me ma two analogy bi na ode ayeye bi anaboa. The last time I call Bracknell Mall and I call mall bi no. Na wonam ho no. Imagine say bia wakọ mall na utwa mu no. When we say bracelet be ego Asamoah shop na a bracelet no cost to £20,000. Na adi egu enchen hosa o hwe yi ebo ho a unim se ofa na so koton benya 20,000. Enti mi hwanso no wo hia sika urgently pa chese so when you say sika na bi kra do ko free se niam nkoye wo ho kwa so otimi fadi a obi akura ehu no akoton enya usika. That is temptation. One say no. It is only testing you because you have an a free fair canon. What desires no last no. How this is kind of bit me solve na follow. It's no akofa. Now let's assume say by accident or mistakenly what's that situation anymore, but ebio bibi be fine na upia bontin na hu say bracelet abegu bag mu upia no krankrofo no busa say your bracelet bi ayira na wonhu na say da bi upia na hu say aba ebia ya che obi a ye kopa na hye no because your dress on na afa and on kind of prayer now o hwa de no na okọ that time no that the same event no the temptation here time who okwan so be fa na won fa who take a decision no. But the bar one chain decision I be take say me the be ma wo mo anasa me fa ma wo mo no it's your trial. I feel the temptation being because a trial it is testing say wo be no kwafo wo be sum nyame ana wo be sum bonsam. And sometimes ni ya na this division is very clear, but so no always from the angle say baby also me no kwafo me maybe I just need to let something go. I'm no kwafo na boa me am me ni nyame ntama ye kro. That is trial. Say bibia wo fa dia satisfy wo ho a that is temptation. Yesu die ye hu say temptation because bonsam ultimate plan objective and they say can I get Jesus to die? I'll be deny Nyankopon. Be blame Nyankopon. And the man yet temptation even more. Yo. ɛne penifo bibia ne hɔ de a yɛbɛtumi de asi ha